I now call to order the Planning Commission meeting for March 19th, 2026. Ms. Parker, do we have a quorum?
Yes, ma'am, we have a quorum.
All right. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please remove all non-religious headgear, and then followed by our invocation.
Lord, thank you so much for gathering us here tonight. Help us have wisdom to act on what's best in the county. Help us to have peace knowing that you are good and that you love us. Help us to have quorum and understanding, Lord. Amen.
Amen. We do have one amendment to the evening's agenda. We are going to move item 9.1 related to the Virginia Sports Park and Training Center deferral request. It's going to be considered after the director's report. This amendment will require a motion and a vote. So if I can get a motion.
Madam Chair, I would like to draft a motion. Move the commission amend the order of the agenda items to move item 9.1 related to the Virginia Sports Park and Training Center deferral to be heard after the director's report.
I second it.
All right. Mr. Dean?
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
Ms. Kowalski?
Aye.
Mr. Patak?
Aye.
Mr. Kimmerly?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, has everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes from the February 19th, 2026 meeting? Are there any comments, changes, or is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Second?
Second.
All right. Mr. Kimmerly?
Aye.
Mr. Patak?
Aye.
Ms. Kowalski?
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
Mr. Dean?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, it is now time for the director's report from Ms. Sherry. Sorry, I was looking over there.
No, I jumped the gun. Was very excited about my report this evening. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Tonight's director's report is meant to inform the community about upcoming public hearings and community meetings associated with zoning applications. These meetings are open to the public, and I encourage people to attend and to participate in these meetings. The Board of Supervisors is scheduled to hold 3 public hearings on April 14th, 2026. These will be held at 6 p.m. here in the boardroom at the County Administration Building. I did want to note that this month's meeting is on April 14th, which is the second Tuesday of the month. Usually it's the first Tuesday of the month is when the board holds their public hearings, but a separate public hearing will be held for the budget that evening, so this meeting will be held the following week. The first public hearing that evening is in District 3. It is an application by B.J. Hauling, LLC, to rezone approximately 2.16 acres to allow for an office outdoor storage for a trucking business located on Triple T Lane. The second hearing that evening is in District 3. It's an application by Denny and Cheryl Jew for a conditional use permit for a home-based business, specifically for fabrication of custom parts and tools for electromechanical and fluid-powered systems. The property is located on Pleasant Hill Lane. The last public hearing scheduled for April 14th is in District 4. It's an application by Michael and Caitlin Alsop. It's an application for a conditional use permit requesting a school located at the corner of 800 Broad Street Road and Three Chopt Road. The Planning Commission is scheduled to hold 1 public hearing on Thursday, April 16th at 6 p.m. That is also here in the boardroom of the County Administration Building. The application is in District 3 by Rebecca and Christopher Miller. A conditional use permit. It is a conditional use permit for a detached accessory family housing unit, and the property is located on Broad Street Road. There is 1 community meeting scheduled at this time. The property is in District 2. It is for a pre-application by Monica Mormon requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory family housing unit. The property is located on River Road West. The community meeting was originally scheduled for last week, but due to the weather, it was rescheduled. The meeting will now be held on Monday, April 20th, 2026, 6 p.m., right here at the County Administration Building in room 270. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any requests for defers, additions, deletions, or changes to the order of the public hearing?
CU 2025-12, application by Virginia Sports Park and Training Center at Goochland requesting a conditional use permit for skeet shooting range of course and other similar ranges. Oh, sorry. Let me start that over. District 1, CU 2025-12, application by Virginia Sports Park and Training Center at Goochland, requesting a conditional use permit CUP for skeet shooting range or course and other similar ranges or courses on an approximately 85-acre portion of 372.967 acres on Walton Road, approximately 0.4 miles north of Three Chopt Road, on tax map number 6109A and a portion of tax map number 61070 and 61057T. The properties are zoned agricultural general A1. The CUP is required by County Zoning Ordinance Section 15102. The comprehensive plan designates this area as Rural Enhancement Area, and the applicant has requested deferral of this public hearing application to the June 18, 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
I move that the commission approve applicant Virginia Sports Park and Training Center at Goochland's request for consideration of its conditional use permit CU 2025-12 application to the June 18, 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
I'll second that.
It is. It is the applicant's request. It is not the county's request.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And I see that
Let
it's,
me, yeah, it's the way that it's Virginia Sports Park and Training Center at Goochland. That's the full name. It was not at Goochland's request. It was,
You're
that was
correct.
part of
This
their
is
name.
the applicant has made
right.
this request. Originally was to the May meeting, and earlier this week, we received the request to extend it to the June Planning
Right.
Commission meeting. Thank you for the clarity.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, was there a second? Or
Yes.
would
Mr.
you
Patak?
second?
I seconded.
And for a roll call vote, Mr. Dean,
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin,
Aye.
Ms. Kowalski,
Aye.
Mr. Patak,
Aye.
Mr. Kimmerly.
Aye.
The motion to defer passes on a 5-0 vote. This case will be heard before the Planning Commission on June 18, 2026.
And based upon the change to the public hearing schedule and the deferral of CU 2025-00012 related to Virginia Sports Park and Training Center to June 18, 2026, if you did come here tonight to speak on that matter, you may save your comments for the June public hearing, or if you wish, you can speak this evening during the citizen comment period.
Per the Planning Commission bylaws, Section 4, addressing the commission, public comments. Generally, all persons who speak before the commission during the citizen comment period or a public hearing shall do so from the lectern and furnish their names and addresses to the commission. A speaker shall only speak once on any item unless the commission asks the speaker to answer questions. No person may address the commission unless they have first been recognized by the chair. Each person who desires to speak shall be given time to present oral or written comments. Comments shall be directed to the commission and not the audience. The citizen comment period provides a public forum for the commission to hear from citizens about matters pertinent to the activities, issues, or policies of the commission. The citizen comment period is limited to matters that are not scheduled for public hearing on tonight's agenda.
If you do wish to speak, please come forward and state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. When the green light goes off, that's the beginning of your 3 minutes. When the yellow light comes on, that means you have 1 minute remaining. And then when the red light comes on, that means your time is up.
My name is Kathy Crockett. I live at 5888 Community House Road, Columbia, Virginia, which is in Goochland County in the western section, District 1. I'm coming tonight because there was a Board of Supervisors meeting in Louisa where they put forth a resolution regarding the transmission lines for Joshua Falls to Yeet, showing that they are going to oppose it being located anywhere in their county. Unfortunately, it's going to be a path of least resistance, so if Goochland County doesn't want these lines, we're going to have to do something to stop it. That is why I'm here. I have drafted a resolution that is mirrored by the Louisa County resolution. I think everyone's gotten a copy. I'm not sure if I need to give it to anyone else. I'd like this to be read into the record because I think it's very important. So I'll read it, but I also want to make sure it's attached to the minutes. Whereas Valley Link, a joint venture of Dominion Energy, First Energy Transmission, and Transource Energy, has proposed the Joshua Falls to Yeet project. It's a 115-mile, 765 kilovolt high voltage transmission line spanning numerous counties in central Virginia, including Goochland. Whereas currently proposed routes, alternate routes for the project include miles of new transmission corridor through Goochland County and including numerous alternate route possibilities utilizing steel lattice structures approaching 160 feet in height, equivalent to a 10 to 16-story building, and requiring significant and permanently cleared right-of-way by use of chemicals. Whereas the Board of Supervisors finds that an overhead 765V line would cause significant and irreparable harm to Goochland County's rural character, agricultural heritage, farming, forest lands, and would pass within 500 feet of numerous homes and would decrease property values for hundreds of residents. Whereas the project is intended to transmit bulk power for increasing demand in areas outside of Goochland County and will provide no direct benefit to the residents or businesses of Goochland County who would bear the burden of its presence, loss of land use, loss of rural character, scenic views, agricultural use, farming, and possible electric service cost increase. Whereas the Agricultural, Forestal, Farmland, and Rural Preservation Committee of the County of Louisa recommended that their Board of Supervisors formally oppose the proposed route as presented. The Goochland, Louisa counties joined together in opposition of this high voltage transmission line, whereas it is further recommended that the official statement dated March 5th be made part of the resolution by the Goochland Board of Supervisors, and they adopt the statement as an integral part of the Goochland County resolution. Whereas the Goochland Board of Supervisors further request that the State Corporation Commission require utilities to evaluate alternatives that minimize impacts to working agricultural farms, forestry land, including routing along existing infrastructure corridors outside of Goochland County, and the alternative transmission line placements be removed from the Joshua Falls to Yeet project. Whereas part of the alternative line route intersects and crosses Route 6 in Goochland County, a Virginia State scenic byway that would destroy the scenic nature and view of that designated Route 6. Whereas citizens of Goochland have expressed overwhelming opposition to the overhead construction of this line due to environmental, aesthetic, and health impacts, it is hereby resolved that the Goochland County Board of Supervisors formally oppose the construction of this Valley Link Joshua Fields Yeet 765 kilowatt transmission line as proposed, including alternative routes in Goochland County. Be it further resolved, the board strongly urges Valley Link Virginia State Corporation Commission to prioritize alternatives that do not impact Goochland County or at minimum require the line to be placed underground to mitigate its devastating impact on the county's landscape and residents. Be it further resolved, a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Virginia State Corporation Commission, Governor of Virginia, Goochland County's representatives in the Virginia General Assembly. I've provided this to the board. I'd like to have it put into the record, and I would like to have the Planning Commission to vote positive on this, to put this in to the Board of Supervisors for their approval as well. They've told us that there's nothing we can do, but obviously Louisa was able to do it, and I think we need to follow suit. Louisa has also asked for the adjoining counties to join them in trying to fight this. Hopefully we can get it completely moved out of the state.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak during the public comment period? for matters not on the agenda tonight.
Good evening, Madam Chair and other members of the commission. I won't belabor it since the VSP thing is.
Can I
gonna-
get your name
Yep,
and
yep,
address
sorry
first,
about
please?
that. Joshua Cather, 1715 Walton Road. One point I heard from my friends on the other side during rebuttal back in January was kind of pointing out how it was fatal to the community's position that there's a few data points that show people have purchased homes a mile, 3/4 mile out or so from these other ranges that exist here in the state. But I think that wasn't so fatal because, and again, let me say, I'm not privy to any information about the range moving eastward, so I don't know. I'm just going to speak to how it was in January. And there's about 10 homes or so that are in that 1/4 mile radius, and I don't think there's any other data points in the state that show that kind of precedent exists before. So I don't think that was quite so fatal as my friend maybe portrayed it. Also back in January, around 5 hours 29 minutes into that recording, in order to allay concerns about noisy ammunition, that most people are going to fire this quieter ammunition, he mentions people firing $80,000, $90,000 shotguns. That's wonderful. That kind of wealth is welcome in the county. He goes on to say maybe 70% of people would fire this lighter ammunition. I'm certain he wasn't implying that 70% of people have $90,000 shotguns. But I bring this point up just to emphasize, is that middle class community really the best place in order to surround and house a range like that? Again, I know nothing about accessibility and generous offerings to the community, and my friend might come up here and totally knock this point out. But it was just a concern of mine. $90,000 shotguns when you're around these middle class homes, it didn't quite match like the flavor of the community. And so I just wanted to say that. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to speak? Okay, we'll now close the citizen comment period. Can we hear our first application?
Yes, ma'am. There is no unfinished
Oh,
business.
there is no unfinished. I'm so sorry.
No new business. And our first public hearing this evening is in District 5, CU 2026-3, application by Stephen W. and Karen S. Dash, requesting a conditional use permit, CUP, for an accessory family housing unit detached on 8.862 acres at 1259 Mannequin Road on tax map number 5710530. The property is owned agricultural limited A2, and the CUP is required by County Zoning Ordinance Section 15112 in accordance with Section 15285A. The comprehensive plan designates this area as Rural Enhancement Area.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Adam Barber. I am staff with the county's Planning and Zoning team. And before the Commission tonight is a conditional use permit application submitted by Stephen and Karen Dash to establish an accessory family housing unit on roughly 8.8 acres at 1259 Mannequin Road in the Agricultural Limited Zoning District. The general vicinity of the property is shown on the map on the left with the red circle, and we are in District 5 off of Mannequin Road, roughly halfway between Broad Street and River Road. And turning to the aerial photo on the right, you can see the subject property circled in red, and it is accessed by a private driveway off of Mannequin Road into the northern portion of the property, which passes through a portion of open space for the Broad Run subdivision before it enters the subject property. As I mentioned previously, and you can see the map on the left, the zoning is agricultural limited in the green color, and that is true for surrounding properties in the nearby area as well. Turning to the map to the right, this is the comprehensive plan designation of Rural Enhancement Area, which applies to the subject property and the surrounding neighborhood. So the property is currently developed with a 2-story dwelling near the north side of the property. I showed the driveway leading to that home. And my understanding, it was built roughly in 1900. And the proposal in front of you tonight involves the construction of a new dwelling to the south of that existing dwelling. The existing dwelling would become the accessory family housing unit to be used by family members, and the property owners would move into the new home. So the new home would become their primary residence, and the use of the existing dwelling would be converted to the proposed accessory family housing unit. I feel like I may have flipped somehow to the wrong slide here. Let me just get back. Apologize, somehow I flipped ahead. And what I'm expecting to see for the next slide would be the conceptual plan. And if needed, I don't know if we could back out to the. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank members of in the audience for coming tonight. I know it takes time away from your family and friends to come, but we couldn't do this without you. I wanted to apologize to the folks in the front row. I feel like I've picked a spot that blocks both screens from all of you. So I'll think Skinny. I apologize. Great, thank you, Ms. Parker. And I promised to show you the conceptual plan. Apologize for the delay. So this conceptual plan shows the existing dwelling. I've circled it in red here. The applicant circled in red towards the north side of the property. The new dwelling to be constructed down here to the south. I believe it's about 175 feet to the south. And you can see the existing driveway comes to the existing dwelling. Part of this proposal is to decommission that existing access point and move it further south to better serve both properties, and also move the driveway access point to a safer location along that road, and also ensure that it's fully contained on the property without having to go through open space to the subdivision. And this has all been proposed by the applicant. A community meeting was held on January 12th of this year, and attendees included 9 citizens, board member Lyle, and Planning Commissioner Dean, and the property owners. So the topics of discussion at that meeting included history of the existing home, the location of the new dwelling to be constructed, and then questions on whether the application involved the construction of a third home or subdividing the property. And staff clarified as part of the community meeting that neither of those scenarios were on the table or could be authorized through the application that's in front of the Planning Commission tonight. So again, the proposal is to establish a second dwelling unit on the property with no subdivision proposed. The comprehensive plan for this property I mentioned is Rural Enhancement Area. Within the plan, that is defined as exhibiting a rural character with low-density residential, agricultural, forest, or other uses which are not planned for public or central utilities. Residential uses should include a significant amount of open space, limit the amount of grading and native plant removal, and create minimal visual and other impacts. So I'd like to briefly summarize the recommended conditions. Conditions 1 and 2 establish the nature of the approved use as being no more than one accessory family housing unit on the property to be conducted within the existing dwelling, the older structure, the older dwelling on the property once the newer is established, and to be occupied only by family members of the principal dwelling occupants. Condition 3 establishes a prohibition on using the accessory family housing unit as rental, and Condition 4 requires a working carbon monoxide and smoke detector to be maintained in that accessory family housing unit. Condition 5 requires that the relocated driveway be fully contained within the bounds of the property once it's relocated, but it's not tied to the specific comprehensive plan details to provide flexibility if it needs to move slightly for construction reasons. And condition 6, requiring the property owner to maintain emergency vehicle access capability to the accessory family housing unit. Conditions 7 and 8, these are standard conditions, sets a 10-year permit expiration date with an opportunity to renew. And then finally, the last condition, 8, establishes notification requirements to the county and also any new owner or leasee in the event that the ownership changes, so that all parties are aware of any limitations that might be associated with this permit. That concludes what I have prepared for you tonight. I'm available to respond to questions, and the applicants are here as well to help.
I have no question.
Adam, I have a question about, you've specified that the new home will be the primary residence and that the older home will be accessory. Before the new home is built, it has to be the accessory, correct? I mean, because you only have one structure. I mean, are we about to designate an existing home accessory to a non-existent home?
So I can respond. So the order of operations would be that once the new home has been cleared for occupancy and the property owners move in, that would by default convert the other structure, if this permit is approved, to the accessory family housing unit. So until both dwellings are, technically dwellings under the code, I don't see that there would be a conflict. But I appreciate that. I'm thinking about this as a staging question.
Right.
Like, might there be an inadvertent?
Because we're about to designate the existing home as an accessory. I mean, if, it seems like that. And
So one option is, if there's a concern about sort of the staging and when that trigger is flipped, if the commission had a recommendation on a clarifying language.
I guess
that's
I'm wondering
certainly-
why you felt necessary to declare the new structure to be the accessory. Why don't we just say, or to be the primary, why don't we just say that the new building is going to be the accessory family housing?
Oh, so the conditions reflect the application that was submitted to the county with the intention of the existing home being used by the family members, not the principal residents. So it's trying to align the conditions with the application that was submitted.
All right. Is this something do we need to be concerned about this or not? I'm looking for a legal.
This did go through me.
Okay.
I reviewed all of this,
All right.
the
So-
staff
so the-
report, and did discuss this with
We
the
don't need to
planner.
worry about it?
And it's a timing, no, Adam was exactly correct. It is a timing thing. You can't have an accessory until you have a principal.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Right, but so what happens is the existing home will be designated as the accessory, but it can't be designated in that until the new home, which is the principal home, is built. So by default, this CUP actually can be approved, but can't and doesn't sort of come into being until that second home is built. And that was, the applicant requested that the existing home be used as the accessory.
Okay. All right. I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, I do understand the question. I appreciate that.
With movement of the driveway, does that increase, the sight lines, or is there any concern with that it's on? I mean, it almost looks like it's probably better moved. Am I correct in that?
Well, so
when
I
went by
would
the
defer to
property?
VDOT, and
Okay.
VDOT has issued a permit in November to relocate the driveway as proposed.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank
Would
you.
the applicant like to come forward and speak? No? Okay. All right. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
He's prepared a 2-hour presentation.
So I'm Steve Dash, 1259 Mannequin Road. We have been in Goochland now for 2 years. We live in the accessory dwelling unit, or I guess it's not, whatever we how we classify that. And we're really excited to have this house being built. It's our forever house, is where we're going to probably eventually retire, and we'll be able to have all our family together. So we're very excited about this.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or anyone like to make a motion?
Need to open the public
Oh,
hearing.
I'm so sorry. We can now open the public comment period for this application if anyone would like to speak. I'm rushing right through. I'm so sorry. I will now close this public comment period. Now, do we have any questions, concerns? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion. I move that the commission recommend approval of conditional use permit CU 2026-00003, application by Stephen and Karen Dash, subject to the imposed conditions as presented.
Second.
All right. Mr. Kimmerly?
Aye.
Mr. Patek?
Aye.
Ms. Kowalski?
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
Mr. Dean?
Aye.
The motion to recommend approval passes on a 5-0 vote. This case is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the Board of Supervisors on May 5th, 2026. It moves forward with a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission. Our final public hearing item this evening is in District 4, CU 2025-11, application by Jose Carmen Correa Ariano and Ana Isabel Ramirez Ariano, requesting a conditional use permit CUP for an accessory family housing unit detached on 2.01 acres at 2202 Mannequin Road on tax map number 47903C. The property is zoned agriculture limited A2. The CUP is required by County Zoning Ordinance, Section 15112, in accordance with Section 15285A. The comprehensive plan designates this area as Rural Enhancement Area.
Madam Chair, I am going to recuse myself from this case.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Ben Ellis. I'm a planner with the county. Before you is an application by Jose Carmen Correa Areno and Ana Isabel Ramirez Ariano for a conditional use permit for an accessory family housing unit detached. The property is located on about 2 acres at 2202 Mannequin Road in District 4. The map on the left shows the general vicinity of the property within the county. The map on the right shows the property outlined in red. The property as well as the surrounding properties exhibit a rural character. The property is occupied by a single-family dwelling as well as a detached garage. The current dwelling is located right here, and the detached garage is located right here. The property and the adjacent properties are zoned A2 Agricultural Limited, and the comprehensive plan designates this property and the surrounding area as Rural Enhancement Area. The applicant is proposing to construct an accessory family housing unit upon approval of this conditional use permit. The applicant currently accesses the property through a shared drive that is shared by all 3 properties. But as you can see on the plat to the right, this drive does not follow the platted right-of-way, which is outlined in green. The current shared drive is located right here. In addition to the right-of-way, there's another issue involving the access connection. On July 2nd, 2024, Goochland County updated its private road standards. These new private road standards increase the minimum road width from 16 feet to 20 feet. The driveway is classified as a private road as it provides access to at least 3 lots. The road currently does not appear to meet these current standards. The applicant hosted a community meeting on June 16th at the Goochland Fire Rescue Station 3. 8 citizens attended. The applicant explained the proposal, and discussion included topics such as the location of the proposed dwelling, the location of the proposed drain field to the neighboring well, the visibility of the proposed dwelling, setbacks, land disturbance, size and height of the proposed dwelling, and well types. 2 members of the public expressed concern with the proposal, with an additional member of the public expressing support. The January 15th Planning Commission public hearing, concern was expressed about the relocation of the private road and the proposed location of the accessory dwelling. In response to these concerns and the discussion at the Planning Commission meeting, staff has amended and created new conditions involving access, screening, and the location of the dwelling. On the right is an exhibit to the new condition that would limit the placement of the new accessory structure, accessory dwelling, behind the building line shown here. Under this new condition, the new dwelling could be placed anywhere behind the line while still meeting zoning ordinance requirements. So in this general area. Subsequently, the applicant submitted 2 new conceptual plans. Please note that neither of these conceptual plans adhere to the proposed new conditions, which for reference are located in your staff report. Neither of these conceptual plans are conditioned, they are conceptual in nature. As mentioned, staff has modified the conditions since the last Planning Commission meeting. Conditions 1 through 3 are standard conditions and relate to the use of the property. Condition 4 has been removed as a working smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector are required under the Uniform Statewide Building Code. Condition 5, now Condition 4, relates to public safety. In response to the comments at the last Planning Commission meeting, staff has simplified the condition about the existing road. It now reads that it must be brought into zoning compliance before the issuance of a building permit for the accessory dwelling. Additionally, the screening requirement has changed from a vegetative screening requirement to a wooden privacy fence. Staff added a new condition regarding the location of the accessory dwelling. The placement of the proposed accessory dwelling housing unit must be located behind the building setback line as shown in Exhibit A, and that was the exhibit I showed you earlier. Staff has also modified the condition, the date for Condition 8, and lastly, Condition 9 is our standard transfer and lease language. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the Commission.
You showed 2 options, option A and option B.
Yes, B and this is A, and
C.
B and C are,
Sorry.
yes, yes.
So which one? Is either one? Neither.
These are just submitted, at this time, these are just submitted conceptual plans
Okay,
as part, as an exhibit to the application.
Can you show us approximately on Exhibit B or C where the fence would go and what you're proposing? And
The fence presumably would go along this property line. The requirement, and I will go to the exact language, is that it must, screening must be accomplished by a wooden privacy fence at least 6 feet in height, and the fence must be in place before the issuance of the attached accessory family housing unit's certificate of occupancy. And actually, the first sentence, the detached accessory family housing unit must be generally screened from the view of the adjacent dwelling.
so who determines the length? Or is that just subject to?
Zoning will go out and inspect as part of our normal inspections for the building permit application. And as long as we find that it meets the general requirement.
Okay. So it's kind of to be determined.
It allows for flexibility.
Okay.
We, as conditioned currently, the current conditions allows them to place it anywhere behind here. So placing an exact location for the fence at this time may not make the most sense. So we're allowing for flexibility at this time.
Got it.
All right, so what we're being asked to consider here is, being asked to approve that a second dwelling can be built on this property behind that building line. And to be determined, screening to be determined.
Yes.
So all we're being asked to do is to approve that a second building could be built behind this line.
Yes, that the use of the property may allow for a second dwelling with the attached conditions, one of which is, yes, behind this building line with screening.
And any details about this additional structure would be handled in permitting?
Administratively during building permit review, yes.
Okay, all right. Two-story buildings are acceptable?
Yes, there's no height restriction for structures in the agricultural limited district.
Okay.
So are we not picking A, B, or C?
No, we're not. No, we are not.
Just approving.
We're just
That they
approving
can
that a structure,
A-
unlike
A
B and
is-
C, could be built on this property.
Sorry. A is currently part of the conditions that staff has presented to the commission, with the, that the currently they just need to be placed behind this line, so in this general vicinity. If the commission would like to consider amending the conditions that staff has proposed, that's why I wanted to point out the applicant has submitted 2 new conceptual plans.
We would have to change the language if we were saying we were okay with B or C.
If a majority of y'all are okay with B and C, and an amendment to the conditions will be necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to come forward and speak?
Good evening. My name is Yohali Gonzalez, and this is my husband Daniel, and we are here representing my in-laws at 2202 Mannequin Road. So, due to the circumstances with the neighbors' concern with their privacy, my father-in-law is willing to move the new house closer to the storage, which would make it more accessible, and it would be more towards the red dotted line that you saw on Exhibit A. So their initial proposal for the location of the house was in the middle of their land due to the shape of the property and the existing use of the area near the storage. The area near the storage is currently being used by their business, which has trucks, equipment, and materials. So by no means is my father-in-law trying to infringe on his neighbor's privacy and is willing to come to terms on an agreement for both parties. If anything, I believe my father-in-law has less privacy due to the nature of the land. So essentially so the land is pretty much on a hill. His neighbor is I would consider it for him to be like on the top of the hill, and my father-in-law would be on the bottom. So that being said, my father-in-law is asking if you would all consider the house being built approximately 20 feet from the garage. This means that part of the house would be located around 5 to 10 feet away from the red proposed line on Exhibit A. Due to the county setbacks and the limited space, the original house plans will not be able to be used due to the dimensions that we have to play around with. So their new plan is for the house to be a 2-story home instead of 1. Thank you for your consideration. Any questions?
So, as I understand it, then your in-laws, your father-in-law and mother-in-law are asking that the red line not be a constraint? Is that correct? And that you're asking for approval of one of the options B or C here that are actually in front of that part of the structure would be in front of the red line. Is that correct?
Yes, so Exhibit C would be most comparable to what he's asking for. I kind of drew the property here on a piece of paper if you would like to see it.
So you're agreeing to build the home within the property guideline?
Correct.
That's shown in red, right?
Yeah, the only issue is that part of the house does come out of that red dotted line around like 5 to 10 feet.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I'm
so
not
you're
sure
Saying
if,
Exhibit C is what
Correct.
you're, okay.
so would
Okay.
that be an
It's gonna
issue?
just come right there.
Yeah, but that red dotted line comes from this corner and goes
Right.
straight
Yeah.
across.
So that's what they're saying about 5
Right.
feet.
So I don't understand what we're being,
We're
are we being asked to amend this?
No.
Yeah.
We're being
think
asked
so.
if we agree that a second house will be built within the boundaries of that red line. And it's close,
Oh,
Yeah.
correct?
I do believe the applicants are asking you to amend the conditions before you. And
to move the red line at least 5 feet
if
north.
if y'all would like to go with that, I don't have material ready for showing the red line in a different location. I have prepared draft language that would require general conformance with one of these two exhibits before you.
We don't have to amend.
We don't have to
Yeah.
amend, but the applicant is asking us to amend what the
No.
county has
Yes,
restricted.
y'all are not under any obligation to amend the conditions
Right.
before staff.
But they have asked for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're wanting to be a little above that red line.
Right.
And build a
Yes.
two-story.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
They're one option C, basically.
Yes.
right.
Can we reference Exhibit C in our motion if we make one to amend? Or is that not?
Yes, if y'all are interested in amending one of the conditions, I have already drafted. You would need to strike the existing condition 7 and propose an amendment along the lines of this.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will now open up the public comment period for this case. If anyone would like to speak, please come forward with your name and address.
Katie Martin, 2200 Mannequin Road. I want to start off by thanking you guys. Thank you for making that amendment. I think that will definitely work better as far as our privacy is concerned. Moving the property back, obviously it does exceed past that red line. I think as far as I'm concerned, I would ask that maybe that we could keep the vegetation that was originally proposed since it is going to a two-story home. I think other than that, that is all I had. Do you have any other concerns or?
I think they adjusted very well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. Really do appreciate it.
All right, but, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
All right, I have a question for you. If the red line is moved up to accommodate their option C, is that something that you're saying you appreciate them doing? Is that something you're willing, you would be comfortable with?
So assuming that they're comfortable going with option C, because in the beginning, option A
I
was.
understand. Yeah.
Right. If option C going 5 to 10 feet past that, I think we're okay with that. I don't think that's an issue.
It's like almost completely on the opposite side of the
Right.
property.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
So it's
So-
a huge difference.
Yeah.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
yeah.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Would anyone else like to speak? I will now close the public comment period.
Can we do fence and vegetation?
I think that's, does that bother you that to not build a fence and just put?
No,
No
both.
fence and leave the
Both.
vegetation that's there and add a fence?
I'd like to know the neighbor's opinion as well.
Yeah.
Is there any like limitations or like specific guidelines that you would be like putting in place for the height of the vegetation?
The existing vegetation, right?
Well, it might
Because
be,
there is existing vegetation right there. I mean, there's trees that are pretty big, so I'm not sure what other like vegetation we could include in there.
You don't,
Yeah, I'm
You're just saying keep existing.
existing vegetation and the fence.
The fence, okay. Just clearing like the path for the fence.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Not to like clear cut and remove all the trees and, you know.
Los árboles que están ahí existentes y hacer nomás el camino para la pura fensa y poner la fensa de 6 pies. Yes,
Is
they
that-
would be
okay.
willing to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we?
We'll wait for them to
Yeah, I
finish.
would say. Do you-
Staff was discussing that if you, if y'all are interested in requiring vegetation instead of screening, probably the best course of action would be to just go back to the original condition that staff presented in January, what is now currently number 6.
I don't think you were
No, I was
wanting
not. I was
adding.
and,
You just
it's
wanna
just more of
keep-
a conversation than anything. I was just saying, I think it's hearing both sides. It sounds like leaving the existing vegetation, probably the tall mature trees, and adding the fence is what's preferred. I don't think it says in here that they have to leave the existing vegetation. So it's a combination of both.
I think we have agreement.
Yeah.
All right,
Get some language.
Can we go back to the slide where it had yes, thank you.
Okay.
Any other comments, or would someone like to make a motion?
I move that the commission recommend approval of conditional use permit CU 2025-00011 application by Jose Carmen Correa Alejano and as Lynn Isabel Ramirez Alejano, subject to the imposed conditions as presented.
Do you need to add that as well?
And conceptual plan, the location of the accessory family housing unit must generally conform with the attached conceptual plan labeled in Exhibit C.
Therefore, striking the current condition 7 to replace it with the condition 7 that Ben has put, I'm sorry, that Mr. Ellis has put up on the board here. And then the only thing I was not clear on was whether you landed on keeping the current vegetation and adding that into, they must have a fence and vegetation, just the fence or just the vegetation, because we will need to amend another condition here.
What I was saying is that you keep the current vegetation and add the fence.
Which I think, can you go to the old 6?
That's what we all agreed on. Yeah, that's what.
I have no language about removing vegetation.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Right.
But
All right, but you struck,
It could be if they put in the fence. That could be a
Right.
possibility. As condition, that could be a possibility.
you struck condition 6 before, right?
I modified.
Can I see that?
I
All right,
modified
so
condition.
it says here, what's struck here is existing vegetation may be used, but additional plantings are required. Vegetation that dies or destroys must be replaced. So is that the language we want? I was thinking that sounds very similar to what was being approved by the applicant. They would leave existing vegetation.
Leave existing vegetation.
And then vegetation that dies or is destroyed must be replaced.
I think the two parties agree. It's
They
just
did.
our language.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
I like just jamming it up.
Yeah.
Right. So just tell us,
Madam Chair, would you like
Yes.
to take a 5-minute break and we can work on this language?
sure.
That would be fine. Thank you. 5 minutes.
Okay.
We apologize for the confusion.
I don't want to
Do we need to do, I guess, are we? We are now back in session. Sorry about that. Do we need to amend our motion? Or is this going to be put into the proposed conditions as?
You have chosen a motion that you have chosen the motion that allows you to amend the conditions.
Your mic's
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. You've chosen the motion, I believe, Mr. Kemmerly, you started with the motion that said, I'm sorry, Mr. Patak.
Mr. Patak, yes.
Yes.
Started with the conditions as presented. The motion is really that, not the conditions as presented, but the conditions as amended. So yes, I believe you need to withdraw that motion and start over, and then we will note the changes made for condition number 7, condition number 6, and condition number 7.
Do we need to read this condition out loud with that?
Yes, I would read it into the record.
Okay, thank you.
Please. Thank you.
I'll let you.
So I guess withdraw your motion
Yeah,
first.
I'll just do the, I move that the commission recommend approval of conditional use permit CU 2025-000011, application by Jose Carmen Correa Arellano and Ana Isabel Ramirez Arellano, subject to the imposed conditions with the following amendments.
You want to read this? Oh, okay. Condition number 6, can you go back to that, so I can read that first sentence? I'm sorry. Yes. With amendment to condition number 6, screening, the attached accessory family housing unit must be generally screened from the view of the adjacent dwelling on tax map number 47-9-0-3-0. Screening must be accomplished by the preservation of the existing vegetation and by a wooden privacy fence at least 6 feet in height. The fence must be in place before the issuance of the detached accessory housing unit certificate of occupancy, deed, and diseased vegetation must be replaced. And number 7, the location of the accessory family housing unit must generally conform with the attached conceptual plan labeled Exhibit C.
I second.
All right, Mr. McLaughlin,
Aye.
Ms. Kowalski,
Aye.
Mr. Patak,
Aye.
Mr. Kimmerly.
Aye.
The motion to recommend approval as amended passes on a 4-0 vote. This case is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the Board of Supervisors May 5th, 2026. It moves forward with a recommendation of approval as amended from the Planning Commission.
All right. And if there is no other business, this meeting is adjourned.